High-ranking members of the Republican Party are either patsies or Russian assets, and no one seems to care. And the Republican war on women continued this week with a stunning court decision in Alabama equating embryos used in IVF treatment with actual living children. Welcome to MOMocrats MOMochat, part of the Demcast family of podcasts. I'm Donna Schwartz Mills with Karoli and Aliza Worthington of crooksandliars.com. And, after my vacation last week, I'm really happy to see that everything's been going along in this country just the way I left it.
Yeah.
Welcome to hell.
Changed. We still have wingnut judges, and well, that's not true. We some things have changed, like the Biden impeachment case
Has
falling apart.
imploded. Yeah.
Now we all knew that these charges sounded exactly like the case that Trump was trying to get Zelensky to make back in 2019.
Right.
And we all knew that this all came from Russian intelligence. And yet, it's like a big surprise that their one big credible witness turns out to be a Russian agent.
Right. It's lying. He may be a Russian agent, or he might just be the go-between, right? The cutout for the Russian agent,
right. Like Manafort.
But he was planning to flee, and so he was arrested after he was released by a judge. But anyway, we back at Crooks and Liars, back when the so-called laptop was first discovered, we knew then that it was bullshit. And because, first of all, the whole story doesn't make sense, right? Hunter in a cocaine crazed stupor drops his laptop off at a guy that's legally blind, and the dude sees on there and calls. I mean, none of it made any sense, right? And the story around it was so obviously Russian disinformation that, I mean, every story we have ever written on this thing, we always put laptop into quotes and linked back to all of the things that make it not a laptop and everything. So yeah, all of us with half a brain know that this was bullshit. And now David Weiss, who's the special prosecutor for Hunter Biden, has now come out and said, yes, indeed, he was lying about everything. The thing that's wild about this is that it was just kind of in the right-wing looniverse, the whole Hunter Biden thing. And the thing that broke it through into mainstream media, into the New York Times, into the Washington Post, that legitimized it was this guy's 1023s, the reports that he was filing with the FBI. That was what got them to pay attention and legitimize it. And now it's all bullshit. And they have egg in their face because they just took the word for it.
Well, they have egg on their face, but they're not reporting this with nearly the urgency that they have reported on Joe Biden's age.
Right.
Well, or Hunter Biden's laptop.
Or Hunter.
They're not they're not giving equal play to the fact that the whole thing is a hoax.
Right.
Or that the whole thing is a setup. And, the fact that half of the government, half of the House of Representatives is complicit in this
fraud.
in fraud, which under, in a functioning, healthy democracy would be something, with a healthy functioning fourth estate would be covering with vigor.
Right. And it would be on their front page.
It would be on their front page, but it's not, because our media wants Trump to be elected again. Our media thrives on reporting it's corporate owned. It's run by, conservative interests, and they want the Democrats, they bury shit about Republicans and they highlight stupid shit about Democrats.
Yep.
Well, I don't know if you guys saw the news that the IRS has recovered something like $450 billion in unpaid taxes from billionaires and corporations since the increased IRS capabilities of the Inflation Reduction Act.
Thanks, Brandon.
Yep.
Right. Thanks, Brandon. The Republicans cut some of that funding in their, in their budget agreement that they'll probably not hold, that they probably will shut down the government again. Anyway, that's another topic.
Yeah.
But
if they're so interested in getting rid of the deficit,
they're not interested in getting rid of the deficit.
This is all.
They're not interested in that any more than they're interested in immigration, right? Yeah. I mean, immigration is just a thing for them to throw around out there, even though there is actually a real a humanitarian crisis at the border, one that we need to be dealing with, right? And in a good way. They're out there toadying their king, King Trump, who's incoherent and definitely showing signs of dementia. But yes, please tell us more about Joe Biden's age.
Joe Biden's age, yeah.
I mean, and I'd just like to say a big F to Ezra Klein. I'm sorry, but
I missed the Ezra Klein thing. Please do, if it doesn't make your head explode. Please do enlighten.
I mean, basically, he wrote that Biden should be a hero and drop out so that they can have a brokered convention in Chicago because
convention.
What a mess. Right.
And the thing is that he says Biden's been a great president. He's doing a wonderful job. The only reason to do this is poll numbers, which are suspect.
Yeah.
And the perception that he's old.
Right.
I mean, yeah, he is old. So
he is old.
What?
Get over it. He's old.
As opposed to who would they want?
But worse than that, everything is superficial, right?
Yeah.
It's that Biden looks old, that he talks like he's old, he walks like he's old, and
people don't like to see that.
They don't want to see it, even though
and the convention, a brokered convention, would be more entertaining to watch.
Oh, right. Because that's
because Chicago '68 was compelling television.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so was West Wing, but
in 1968, but it wasn't the Democrat. I'd just like to say it. It wasn't, and to just add insult to injury and all this, it's as if Kamala Harris didn't exist.
Does not exist.
Oh, sure. Right? She doesn't exist. No, because it's not like I'm going to go ahead and guess that Ezra Klein didn't put her up as the candidate.
No, of course not.
A young, brilliant, someone in her 50s who went to, where did she go? Stanford, and where else? Majored in economics, and
right. She has the looks. It's just the dumbest thing ever. But it was in the New York Times.
President.
Yeah. It just. So that was Ezra Klein. Lawrence O'Donnell did an amazing job of putting him back in his place, and he did it with the bless your heart. Oh, I love Ezra Klein. Ezra Klein's smarter than I am in most things. Blah blah blah. And then he just slammed him back in his place. Boom. Right hook.
It's a half-hour segment, and it is
really
watch.
We have it on the site. We have
I'm sure you do.
With the transcript.
It is a must see because it explains exactly.
Was it from last night or was it 2 nights ago?
2 nights ago. He explains exactly why it's a non-starter of an idea and why the Democrats need to shut the fuck up with all of these alternates to Biden and just get behind our nominee and good president, probably best president of my lifetime.
Yeah.
You know, what he's gotten done in one quarter, in one term, under just the most horrendous circumstances when he got in, and
truly
Congress that he's got now.
Right.
You know, why wouldn't I want to give him 4 more years if he thinks he can handle it?
Seriously. I mean, has anybody think that, okay, so maybe, you know, he walks a little stiffly or whatever, but he also, I mean, have you ever seen him on a goddamn bike? I mean, it's like, I mean, have you ever seen him in jeans and a polo? I mean, that dude.
He's fit.
He's quite fit, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, I put him up against Mitch McConnell any day. I mean, have you seen, I mean, or Bernie Sanders.
Right?
Or
that's
Trump. I mean, but I'm talking about that. Okay, so of course, I mean, I'm not even talking about Republicans. I'm talking about these damn Democrats who are trying, who are coming at their own and saying, you know, after what an amazing job he's been doing, people on our side who were telling him to step aside.
This reminds me a lot of 2012 when everybody was saying that Obama should be primaried. Right. And
again, for what?
Like, what the hell? You know, why would you do that? I have no idea. And I mean, and for Black people, and particularly Black women, it is an insult that to this day, galls them, because you know, the first Black president, and he's in his first term, and you people want to primary him. What is the matter with you? And that, I feel like to an extent that we had that same contingent that, you know, are always, I hate to use the word, and I won't actually, I'll think of a different word. But they're always nervous, right? They're afraid that Biden's not going to win, that he's not going to, and it doesn't matter how many special elections we get. It doesn't matter that Trump's rallies are not generating enthusiasm, that he's not generating donations, that he's not generating, you know, sold out.
That he's hawking sneakers. He's resorted to selling sneakers to pay off his damn lawyers.
Like, right? Those are the things that he's doing. It doesn't matter to them. They're afraid. They're afraid that Biden won't win. And I'm like, you know what? Stop it. Just stop being afraid and start getting to work. Knock it off already. And you know what? The other thing is that people like Ezra, right? They have a vested interest in kind of being a troll. Right? I mean, he works for the New York Times. He got a lot of attention for this article.
Sure did.
You know, but it's not just on the Democratic side. I mean, we were talking ahead of when we went on the air today about the Washington Post, right? And George Will, who is a troll, a complete troll, we know it, but he's what mainstream media likes to call the respected voice of the right, right? The not crazy voice of the right, but he is. Let me read you.
It was unhinged today.
The title of today's column is Roosevelt Fixed His Serious VP Mistake. Will Biden? And then this is the first paragraph. Today's subject is potentially the most consequential mistake of Joe Biden's irresponsibly prolonged public life. She, the mistake, will not, however, be mentioned again. He doesn't even mention her name. It was so utterly evil and insulting and rude. I just, I can't even. And I had a conversation with some people that I do business with, and we were talking about her. And I said, you know, the whole Biden is old thing is really an anti-Kamala Harris thing. And
of course it is.
Said to me, you know, well, is she, you know, ready? And I said, listen, you don't ever get any reports on her because they don't bother with her, but I get daily reports on what she does. and I would have absolutely no problem with her stepping in and being president. Zero problem with it. So, I mean, I can tell you that she's got a portfolio and she's delivering on it. And this is just out to me, this paragraph is naked racism and sexism. That's all it is.
On top of that,
mostly racism. And here's the thing. Anybody, you don't have to be executive editor of Crooks and Liars or a media outlet to get regular reports on the things Kamala Harris does. Mm-hmm. I follow her on Instagram. Mm-hmm. I follow her on Instagram and I get 1 or 2 posts a day that says, today I met with the leaders of this, I was at the Economic Forum for this thing. Today, I met with medical leaders on the issue of women's reproductive rights. Here I was doing this. Here I am doing that. This is, if everybody's wondering, where's Kamala Harris? All they have to fucking do is follow her. She's right there for everybody to see. So this bullshit about there not being, she's invisible or she's not, you can see everything she's doing.
Yeah, she's out there.
She is out there. She's doing stuff. She's visiting colleges. She's talking to young people. She's talking to old people. She's talking to farmers. She's everywhere.
Standing room only audiences on college.
Her audiences eat her up. They love her.
And she is learning about foreign affairs at the feet of a master.
Yes. And she's visiting other countries and she's she's doing everything.
Yeah.
So it's not, you don't have to be Karoli to be getting these detailed, you might not get the pool reports from the reporters on Air Force 2 or whatever, but it's fairly easy
to see. It is.
And I just don't
emphasize again that her foreign policy chops are really, really good. She's talking to
she goes to France and she speaks French with the Prime Minister of France. She goes to
all they report about is that she bought a $400 Le Creuset pot.
Right. It's so again, that's sexist.
Duh.
That's sexism for you, probably with a little racism mixed in. Like, how does a Black woman afford a $400 pot? Well, she's a fucking cook. Okay. She loves to cook.
I just bought one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're not Black and you're not supposed to be poor. It is,
it's infuriating. And
George Will ought to be fucking fired for that. I'm
too old for his job.
I honestly, that paragraph was so offensive to me. The fact that he wouldn't even mention her name, that, is like, she's like,
how did she hurt him? What is he
exists. She exists in the vice president's office. That's how she hurt him.
Right. He's a Trumper and he, so he's right there with all the racist wackos that, that follow Trump. But he's supposed to, as I said, he's, for whatever reason, and I don't know why, regarded as sort of the thought leader of the conservative movement.
Well, because he used to be somewhat respectable. He didn't, but
I will read his columns on baseball.
Well, yeah, I used to, but I won't anymore because, that's, it's like, it matters to me that, like, I can't divorce someone's abhorrent views on race and gender and sex from their expertise and eloquence on another subject that I care about. I just can't do that. I feel like I won't give them that because I don't feel like they deserve my attention at all. And I know other people don't feel like that, but I've kind of always felt that way, whether it's about movie stars or directors or people who, it just, it ruins it for me.
Yeah. Well, I agree. And this ruined it for me. And I'm pissed at the Washington Post and the editors for allowing that to go. I mean, he can make whatever argument he wants to make about Kamala Harris being, in the line of succession. That's fine. But you use her name. You don't do that snide little shitty thing that he did in that first paragraph where he said, basically the mistake will not, however, be mentioned again.
Would they have allowed him to do that for a foreign head of state?
Would they have allowed that for him to do that with Trump and call
Would
Pence the
the previous editor of the Washington Post have allowed it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because now he's got a brand new, more right-wing regime running the Post.
Oh, we do.
Yeah,
that's true. How recently? I can't remember.
Since but to me, this isn't even a question of right wing. This is just being decent, right? Yeah. You be a decent person. You don't treat somebody like they don't have a name and they're a non-entity. You call them. You absolutely use her name.
It's journalistic practice. You don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I
and
realize
also it's cowardly,
but still, it's just so rude. The whole thing's anyway. I didn't want to light everything up, but this.
No, it's good that we're talking about it, but I do want to get back to the threat that is Russia.
Right.
And the world on a brink of disaster. Yesterday, last night I was watching on the news, and Joe Biden was quoted, after his one of his campaign stops in California, saying that every time he meets with world leaders, they pull him aside and tell him that they're terrified of Trump coming back into power. He says 9 world leaders have told him this. Yeah. And the Congress holding up, any kind of funding. I mean, they just went on a 2-week vacation. And when they come back, they have to do something about the budget again.
Yeah. Again.
Right.
Again. And in the meantime, Ukraine's running out of ammunition. You've got countries giving them the stockpiles that they have to defend themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Biden really, I have to say, Biden is doing a great job of talking about it every time he's in front of the press. He's obviously not too old to go out there and say spontaneously, look, Congress needs to do this. Why didn't they do this? Instead, they went on vacation for 2 weeks. And this is still hanging there.
And they're giving him plenty to talk about. Back to that Lawrence O'Donnell long thing. One of the key points is that the president's job is not to give speeches, it's to make decisions.
Right. And it's the decisions that are part of history, not the speeches.
Yeah.
And that's true.
Joe Biden is making
speeches, but what you remember about him is the Affordable Care Act and the fact that he got us out of the recession. And I mean, those were all decisions that he rescued the auto industry, things like that.
Right.
So, that, and it's the same for Trump, by the way. He went out and yammered every frickin' day about something or another, but it's his tax scam that's, driving up the deficit.
His tax scam is driving up the deficit. His inaction on COVID caused 1 million people to die.
Yeah. I know. So, and Russians are interfering. Smirnov is one example of that. Right. And Hunter Biden, I mean, the whole idea of smearing Hunter Biden to get at Joe Biden is such an evil thing anyway, but it's something that Russians do all the time.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, this is a thing that they do. And
right. They go for the family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what's disturbing is that yes, Russia's going to do this, but it's that the press, that our reporters, that our fourth estate let them.
They
actually amplify them instead of investigating.
And I think the disturbing thing is that the Republican Party is carrying their water for them, that they are bought and paid for by the Russians.
Right.
That's what I said. So you've had the Congress going along with it.
Yeah.
Not just going along with it, actively
pursuing. Yeah.
How many of them are compromised? That's the question I have.
Cheerleader for Putin.
I think there's a lot of are. I mean, do you guys remember? I mean, I know we did a show on this when in Helsinki, when Trump basically said American intelligence is, failed and Putin's intelligence is right. I just remember at that point, that was like the tipping point for me. That was when I knew that he was compromised and that, all of his buddies are also compromised. And I think there's a lot of people in the Congress that are. And if you go back to Rachel Maddow's book Prequel, it's not unthinkable.
No,
it's any more than that we had Nazis in Congress. Why not Russian apologists? Right? I mean,
for real.
It's completely not unthinkable. And I think about that in the context of this $450 million judgment that is on Trump that he's got to get cash for, and he's either got to get a cash or a bond, and if he's going to appeal. But if he's not going to appeal, he has to put up the cash, right?
Yeah.
Where's he going to get that kind of money? Number one, and we can't borrow from New York banks. That's one of the stipulations. He can't do any business in New York, and he can't borrow from New York banks.
Well, Letitia James said she's going to start seizing his properties.
As Don Jr. said, we do a lot of business with Russia.
Yeah. And that's the thing.
So is he allowed to borrow money from Russia? Is that even allowed?
I mean, maybe you don't borrow it. Maybe Russia buys themselves a guy. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud here. They buy themselves a guy.
They've got guys already who are American citizens who they can push the money to.
Right.
I don't understand. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be dense. When you say they buy a guy.
They buy Trump.
Oh, they buy Trump. Right. Yeah.
They buy themselves a guy that they think is going to be the president, and then they can then he's a puppet, right?
I mean, they already bought him.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, is Trump allowed to accept $450 million from Russia? Say it again?
They'd launder it somehow.
Yeah.
I mean, they launder it all the time. The thing is, like a lot of what I'm
but
reading.
How under this scrutiny, how would that be possible? I guess my question is, like, all of this I mean, I understand that it can be laundered, but now can it be I mean, now it could be laundered?
He's a realist. His assets are in real estate, and that is the main places that money gets laundered.
Right. So, I mean, he has a bunch of cash on him. I think it was reported that he has $500 million in cash already.
Well, that's what he told the judge. We don't know if it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he did manage to come up with what he needed for he hasn't come up with a second E. Jean Carroll settlement. But my point is that real estate is probably the easiest way to get foreign money when you need it, whether it's Russian or it's Chinese or it's Saudi. I mean, let's not forget that
basically some Russian guy can plunk down $450 million for Trump Tower.
Right.
Or some LLC,
Right. You won't know.
That's right. Same thing. But
right. And there's other things that could be. I mean, I just think it wouldn't be that hard for him to get that money that way. He'd be utterly compromised, right? I mean, this is the stuff I want
more compromised. You mean
to talk about it all the time?
Yeah.
I want him to talk about how compromised he is. I want him to talk about how he's lawless, and about how the House basically used Russian assets to try to impeach the president of the United States with bogus allegations.
Excuse me, but if memory serves, there was a presidential candidate in 2016 who tried to talk about his being compromised by Putin. I think she was the first woman to win the Democratic.
George won't mention her name either.
Yeah, probably
I
not.
think she may have called him a puppet of Putin.
She was right about everything.
Yeah.
So he's been compromised forever.
Yeah.
So when you say he'll be compromised, he's just going to be more compromised.
Right. And what is amazing to me is how complacent Republicans are about that. And I'm not talking now about Republicans in government. I'm talking about just regular voters, right? Who are like, I don't know if it's that they don't believe it or whatever, but out here, like I just finished reading the candidate statements for our election in California, and the extreme, they are so extreme. Holy moly. They're out there like embracing Agenda 47, which is, all the...
I don't know what that is. I'm sorry for the rest of us.
Agenda 47 is like the insane... I can't call it a platform. It's more like, just a wish list of what Republicans want to do to this country. It's just, you can find it on Trump's website. It's just super scary.
Like, I'm going to go there. Is it like the whole, they want a new constitutional convention and they want to overthrow democracy, all that shit? Okay.
Things aren't bad enough.
I mean, the thing that amazes me about this is California. The Republicans in California, we have an extreme contingent for sure. And, I'm not denying that. But there are also a lot of like Reagan Republicans, hello, Reagan Library down the road, right? That are out here. And I don't think they're going to go for this Agenda 47
except
stuff.
for one thing. They get all their news from the right wing ecosystem. And I don't know, do you guys read the Decoding Fox News newsletter?
Oh no, I should.
Each week she talks about, she watches a certain amount of Fox News and analyzes what they talked about. And she's got a graphic showing what they talked about on Fox News and another graph showing what they talked about the same week, PBS NewsHour. Right. And if you're getting all your news out of the right wing media system, you are not hearing about anything except Hunter Biden and, Biden bashing and, how wonderful Trump is. And
Biden lies. That's the theme this week is Biden lies. Yeah.
So, they are brainwashed. They're not getting information. They're not making decisions. And again, about California, I love reminding myself that California is such a populous state that even though we have not had a Republican win statewide office in decades now, in the last election, more Californians voted for Trump than people in Oklahoma.
Right.
Just because, even though they're a minority, they're big.
Like, it's out here, but it's just because there's so many of us in California that that happens. But so.
But I took great pleasure in filling out my ballot yesterday.
I did too. But I actually did, like I said, I read the candidate statements and I was shocked. I was shocked at how extreme they're running out here in what is a purple district. This is not a red district. This is a purple district.
Well, I get the emails from my representative, Mike Garcia, so I know what he's about. And
he's extreme too. He just pretends he's not.
I know.
But
he's slick. He's really slick.
The ones really out here that are running, they're unashamedly wingnuts. I can't, I don't know what to say. I was like, I truly was shocked. They will not win. It will not even be a contest. And I suppose that's why they can run wing nuts. I don't know. But
when's your primary?
Super Tuesday.
March 5th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I haven't sent my ballot in because there's a ballot measure I'm still iffy about. But other than that, yeah.
We'll be dropping ours off in the Dropbox tonight.
Yeah.
And so
I have to see when mine is, actually.
So do we want to talk about the IVF ruling?
Oh my God.
The insane Alabama ruling?
Oh my God.
not just that. I mean, the IVF ruling is horrible, and they've figured out it's horrible. I mean, their legislature's already trying to do damage control on that ruling. But I mean, the fact that the Chief Justice of their Supreme Court could appear on a QAnon guy's podcast and say the things that he did about, those embryos reflect God's face, and the Bible is the top.
As a Christian, I'm just here to tell you that is so not true. Also, I really, really want Jews to sue. I really do, because it's an abridgment of your religion. That's why.
It is. It is.
And
I'm sure that
I've been saying this for years.
No, I know. And there is one in Florida that's going on over Roe v. Wade, or there's whatever.
But
I think the Jewish community is kind of preoccupied right now.
Yeah. I mean, that's, I'm sorry. I'm still trying to find out when my primary is, but
now I don't know if you caught this, Karoli, and I only caught it fleetingly before we went on the air, but apparently there's a new law in Tennessee that allows the Tennessee government to just erase anybody's marriage that they feel like.
Yes, I saw that today. And to refuse to marry any same-sex couples. I saw that today, which obviously is a gauntlet throw to the Supreme Court to undo same-sex marriage, to undo Obergefell.
Right.
Obergefell.
But it, like,
I mean, the list of states that I don't want to visit keeps growing longer.
It does. And I've been to Tennessee, and I'm okay not going back. So,
Alabama has a pretty significant Jewish population too. Not for nothing. By the way, my primary is on May 14th. So for whatever that's worth.
You have time.
I got lots of time. I'm like, why haven't I gotten a ballot yet? And that's why. But this is what I tell, when I am escorting in front of clinics, when I'm, this is what I when I feel like engaging, which I've recently just not. But in the past, I have absolutely confounded the aunties who are, ANTIS, who are there, preaching and they love to use all kinds of Holocaust inversion and, this is, you're like an Auschwitz guard, and this is like the Holocaust, and blah, blah, blah. And you're killing babies and ripping them limb from limb and blah, blah, blah. And how can you as a Jew accept this, and blah, 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 and like, I have to, sometimes I'll just turn around and say, as a Jew, I'm actually pretty cool with this. I'm fine with abortion. In Judaism, we're cool with this. We consider the mom, paramount. We consider her mental health paramount. In Judaism, baby doesn't have a soul until they take their first breath outside the body.
That's right.
Period.
Right. Yeah.
So learn what you're talking about before you try to fling my Judaism in my face.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're like, you call yourself a Jew? And I'm like, damn fucking right, I call myself a Jew. This is, you know nothing about Judaism.
Well, he knows nothing about Christianity either. So
well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, they know their version of Christianity.
Yeah.
But, you know, this is, you know, they know the few bits and pieces that they pull from to make it justify their horrendous behavior.
Yeah.
But that's, I mean, it's just, you know, and it really does infringe upon our right to have health care that is not molded around a religious point of view. This is not medicine. This is not based on medicine. This is based on fucking religion. This is based on fantasy in, you know, fantasy sky daddy thinking.
And women are dying. Women are not getting the care they need.
Women are dying. Girls are dying.
There was a case today, another one, of a woman with an ectopic pregnancy who was sent home when she needed immediate surgery.
Yeah.
Because the doctor was afraid.
And her life. But the doctor was afraid, even though we all know that ectopic pregnancies end. They end.
Yeah. The baby will never become, the fetus will never become a baby.
But if you're a Republican in Congress, you think that they can just, you know, take the baby and move it into the uterus, so it'll be okay.
Well, that's nuts.
Well, these are the same ones that think that, you know, if you are raped, you're not going to get pregnant because
your body shuts it down.
So yeah, Biden Trump realizes how bad this IVF ruling is. I mean, he knows it's 81% of this country supports IVF. Not 81% of Democrats, 81% of this country.
Of the country, yeah.
IVF. Mike Pence's kids were all IVF babies, right? I mean,
I didn't even know that. Wow.
Yeah. Well, this is the kind of thing that's coming out now. I mean, Nikki Haley, who said that, you know, the embryo is a baby and then she had to walk that back. Her kids were a result of fertility treatment.
I did not know that.
So the Biden campaign's all over this, like ugly on an ape. And Trump is trying to run away from this after bragging about overturning Roe v. Wade.
Seriously.
So they laid this out. I'm just going to read these things to you. And I'll do it as quickly as I can, but they lay it out in bullet points. Trump appointed 3 anti-abortion Supreme Court justices. Those justices overturned Roe v. Wade. Trump's MAGA Republican allies in states then banned abortion. Donald Trump's MAGA allies on the Hill have co-sponsored legislation that would similarly endanger IVF treatment nationally. Now, MAGA Republicans are making it nearly impossible for women to receive the IVF care they need to start or grow their families. And it goes on to say that they're laying the foundation for a nationwide abortion ban, attacks on same-sex marriage, and restrictions on contraception. And Trump appointed an anti-IVF judge to a lifetime judicial federal appointment. He even added her to a list of potential Supreme Court picks. He also appointed Amy Coney Barrett, who she was also refused to answer questions about criminalizing IVF. So I mean, they make
that cult that she belongs to. She signed on to something that was against IVF.
Trump's White House and campaign hosted the Alabama Supreme Court Chief Justice who issued this extreme ruling, ripping away IVF access. So he can't run from it. This is a Republican thing. They can say all day long that they are pro-life, but here's people who want to get IVF treatment. And I know I have friends all over the place that availed themselves of this treatment to have a family. And
this is going to really make it hard for them to grow white people to take over, if they're so upset about the fact that more brown and black people, that the country is going to have more brown and black people than white people, this IVF ruling is going to really put a wrench in their plan to keep up with,
That's why they're panicking over it.
Maybe that's why they're panicking.
That people that conceive via IVF tend to be more affluent and
expensive.
Upper middle class. It's expensive.
Fewer white people. I mean, I'm just like, I'm trying to I don't know. I'm a little punchy about how it is crazy, so bananas.
Right?
It's so bananas, and it's so it's so sick, and it's so.
These are the small government people. The small government people that want to literally be in every aspect of women's fertility. And
you know why it is? You know why it is? Because
they want us out of the workforce. They want us home having babies and being subjugated.
But if they wanted you having babies, they wouldn't have made this IVF ruling.
If we were home having babies when we were young, we wouldn't need IVF.
Yeah, these are men that don't have the first clue about any of this, right?
I really think they don't understand the
sex education in school.
Yeah, well, that would be nice, but I fully believe that it comes down to the fact that they cannot handle. Look at when this all really became a huge issue. When women began to have the ability to have sex without consequences.
Yep. Right.
Yeah.
And I think what they cannot handle is that women started having the same capability of having sex without having a baby that men did.
Great. No, that's all part of it.
And I think that's the root of it. I don't think that's part of it. I think that's the root. And I think that is that men are so invested in maintaining their hold, in maintaining their ability to have that power, and to be the only ones to have that power. They can't stomach the notion that women can have the power to have sex without the consequence of pregnancy. That this and actually conservative women can't stomach that either. That this is the root of it.
Well, yes, everything Samuel Alito and Clarence Thomas and Scalia wrote went back to that.
Right. So this is it. Because otherwise, we're sluts.
Right.
That is the only thing that makes sense to me. Because like I said, this IVF thing, the end result is fewer white babies.
But you see, their plan,
if they wanted fewer abortions, they would have sex education.
They're rolling back the clock.
What they want is women not to have sex uninhibited and without consequence. That's what they want.
They want that. They want us subjugated to them. They want to have all the good jobs. They want the rest of the people to be able to go to work when they are 10 years old.
Oh, sure.
Good jobs for the white men, the women in the house, and the underclass can do all the jobs that they don't want.
Yeah, if they let them into the country.
And they can be stupid, and they don't have to have good education, because if you have a good education, you vote like a Democrat.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, Lord knows Trump likes them stupid.
Lord knows.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I don't think he cares if they're stupid. He just grabs them by the pussy.
Mm.
Men too.
Well, I just meant his voters. He likes his voters stupid. He likes
men by the pussy too.
He likes his electorate uninformed, but yeah, he'll grab anybody by the pussy if he can.
The uneducated, I love them.
Yes, the uneducated.
Well, it's easier to lie to them. And that's,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's talk about something that was kind of fun that made the news this week. Did you guys catch John Oliver's show on Sunday?
I did.
I did not.
Well, I didn't catch it on Sunday, but we had it on the site the next day, and it was great. What was great about it was, so John Oliver offers Clarence Thomas $1 million a year and a great RV.
A $2 million RV to replace the one he's got.
Right. To retire.
To retire immediately.
Total satire, right? It's no question about it. And the wingers just go crazy. They're like, he should be arrested for Matt Lewis. He should be arrested for trying to bribe a Supreme Court justice.
Oh my God.
Yeah, right. That's what he was doing.
A legal document drawn up. And he kept
going,
I talked to some attorneys and they told me this was legal. How is this legal? And he's like, this money would not come from HBO. It comes out of my pocket.
Oh, that's so funny.
I mean, it's a bit. It's a sure bet that he won't be taken up on it, but it was a beautiful illustration of like the logical outcome of Thomas's corruption. And he had just finished a whole segment on Thomas's corruption, and it was one of the most brilliant pieces of comedy I've ever seen.
Oh man,
Oliver is brilliant, and that one, I agree. That one was awesome, and the fact that it just engendered so many wingers going crazy was weird.
How did wingers don't even watch John Oliver? It's like,
viral. It was they didn't even have to watch it. It was viral. It was everywhere. So
wow, that's awesome.
I mean, it was so audacious. It had to go viral.
Yeah,
it did, and it did. So I mean, there's other fun things too. That's the most fun thing. But if you want to see
any word back, has Clarence answered or not?
Of course,
no. You want to see wingers, you could also observe CPAC, which is sadly not very populated this year at all.
Why are they even bothering with it?
Well, so I'm going to be a little contrarian. Maybe they're not getting a lot of pickup in Maryland, right? But they are in Poland and Brazil and all the other places that they
all the other,
but it's always they always hold it in Maryland. I mean, they always hold it right outside DC, and it's usually, I mean,
when they go to Hungary to hold it,
right? Yeah,
or Brazil.
And that's my point. Is that they're not getting the pickup here, which is great, but they are getting it in these other countries, which is scary. So, but hopefully, it's just. I don't know. Hopefully,
who's attending in those other countries? Are they Hungarians or are they Americans who have traveled to Hungary?
No. They're seeing the messaging.
Yeah,
they're what?
They're Hungarians and Brazilians and Polish. I mean, they've been to all these different countries and they're held their CPAC there. All I'm hoping is that they're a minority and not a majority.
Especially when you've got somebody like Posobiec yesterday,
oh my God,
out and saying the quiet part out loud. We are here to end democracy.
And democracy. We want to overthrow. He said overthrow it. Yeah. He used the word overthrow.
He said we didn't quite get there on January 6th, and it was
close. Admission.
Yeah, we got close, but we'll get there again.
He was serious, and it was we put that up within minutes of him saying that. It didn't go viral for the next day, but we had it up right away. It was just crazy. But that is CPAC. And so last night, NBC Nightly News features CPAC on their broadcast, and they interview this woman without bothering to say that she is a convicted January 6th insurrectionist who went to jail, went to prison and threatened Nancy Pelosi. And, I
threatened to kill Nancy Pelosi, who was Speaker of the House at the time.
So no vetting at all of the people they're interviewing.
Well, and the thing is, they had actually, all they had to do was search their own damn site because they reported on her going to prison. So it wasn't like
it's not even like vetting. It's just like, and this is exactly why the liberal media is a myth. There is no liberal media.
Except crooksandliars.com.
Yes.
Yeah. That's true. Also, I would include like Talking Points Memo. I would
right. But in terms of like mainstream, in terms of what is on TV, like people always say, MSNBC is like the left wing Fox News, and that is bullshit. That is like
they have personalities who are progressive, but not their entire programming is not.
No, and it is not
propaganda outlet like Fox.
Yeah,
this report was on NBC Nightly News. This was their national.
That is supposed
to be NBC, and they didn't even mention that she was a January 6th convicted felon. And they're just putting her out there like she's
just a regular person,
regular Joe. Threatens murder.
Honestly,
it's CPAC, so she probably is representative of the people attending.
Absolutely, she is. That was the point I was going to make, is that basically CPAC used to be cover a broader spectrum, like now, like back in the day. Let's go just back to 2008 when the end of CPAC, they do a straw poll, and Ron Paul always used to do well in this. He wouldn't win, but he would do well, and the mainstream candidate would generally be the one that won it. But now it's all the Ron Paul people, right? I mean, it's all that group.
It's all the wing nuts.
Exactly. I mean, and I remember in 2010, the John Birch Society sponsored CPAC, and it was everybody was horrified. And the next year there was no JBS sponsoring anything. But if you listen to these people now, they echo all of the tropes of the John Birch Society. That it's like they've managed to take it over.
They've taken over the whole damn party.
Yeah.
Which is now a fascist party. It's not. It's not. It's not
an American should be referred to
political party anymore.
It isn't.
No.
And they should be referred to as fascist. I mean, I really think that that's the right way to talk about them.
Yeah. And so we do. We have just a couple of minutes left, ladies. Any big plans for the weekend?
Not for me.
Not really. Just some friends coming over tomorrow night.
Well, that's good.
For dinner. That's all.
Good.
Yeah.
Me, I'm just enjoying being back in the USA.
Are you back? Time wise, how is what's the time difference for you? Were you jet lagged?
No, well, it's just the 3-hour difference between.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
The West Coast, but I'm still waking up as if I've been waking up early all week, just getting into my day. It's going to sleep early, but it's good. It's not like going to Europe. I mean, Cuba's only 90 miles from the tip of Florida.
Yeah.
So. It's a whole other world, which we can talk about on a future.
I think I love that you went. That's great.
Well, it got me more in touch with my mother, with my late mother. So that was the reason for the trip. Okay. On that note, I say we call it a week. It's certainly been one.
It has been a week.
Join us next week on YouTube, MOMocrats.buzzsprout.com, or on your favorite podcast service such as iTunes, Google, and Amazon Music. And be sure to check our Facebook page for updates. I'm Donna Schwartz Mills with Karoli and Aliza Worthington, and we're saying goodbye for the MOMocrats. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
MOMocrats MOMochat is part of the Demcast family of podcasts.